supposed to talk about TAs, right?
Right.
TAs, but I don't know anything about TAs.
We gave you the information to go over before we started videotaping
You're supposed to say lines, please. Now that we have your attention, let's talk about requisitions and travel authorizations. Yat She Daryl Rickson. I'm the business manager at Delcon Community School. Also helping me out today is going to be Shannon Jean, who is the business technician, and then Mr. Shane Murphy, who is our new business office clerk. The topic of requisitions and TAs are important to the school as a whole. For the last 2 years in a row, the Department of Education has recommended Delcon Community School for 1-year reauthorizations. The Department of Education cited the audit findings for the school as the basis for this recommendation. Every time the school has to go through the reauthorization process is an added workload for all of those involved. Some of the audit findings for our requisitions included purchases that were related to one fiscal year that were completed in a different fiscal year, the inadequate number of quotes for some of our purchases. We had some of our purchases that exceeded the authorized PO amount, and then we had purchases that were completed before the purchase order was done. And we also had some purchases that lacked invoices. So we are asking for the school's help to alleviate some of these audit findings. During this presentation, we're going to be talking about planning ahead for your requisition, knowing your funding source. We're also going to be talking about vendors, the payment dispositions, the justifications, and the receipts for your requisitions. The audit findings related to travel authorizations included incorrect per diem and mileage amounts, the inadequate documentation for some of our travel documents, and then we paid out 1 day per diem, which is no longer authorized. So during the travel authorization portion of it, we're going to be talking about planning ahead, justifications, required signatures, and receipts. When submitting your requisition, please plan ahead. This is to give the business office enough time to process your documents and produce the purchase order before the purchase is required. Also, this is to ensure that the procurement guidelines are met, including getting additional quotes if they are required. We also need to be able to log and track each purchase order so they can be completed in a timely manner. As far as the funding is concerned, please find out what funds your program or your department. You might have different funding sources that are available. Ask your mentor or a supervisor. Please don't tell the business office, just go find the money. And then also find out what the allowable cost is for your programs and for your department. Allowable costs for ICEPs might differ from allowable costs for Title I. Those allowable costs might also differ for the facilities department, as an example. We also have a new funding source this year for the COVID-19. The COVID-19 is essentially to respond and mitigate any kind of difficulties created by the COVID-19. What's important to you is that these purchases must be substantially different than what your normal activities are. Most likely, if you bought it last year, it doesn't qualify under COVID-19. So last year, you didn't have to disinfect every day. This year, you do. Last year, you didn't need to have screening or sneeze guards. This year, you do. So if it's substantially different from what you did last year, it's an extra cost. It qualifies under COVID-19. If you bought it last year, most likely it doesn't. At the top of the requisition is the vendor block. A couple things that we need to know about your vendor. Will they consider the school a tax-exempt organization, and do we need to submit a tax exemption form? We need to know about their payment preferences. Will they accept the school PO? Will they accept a check? Must the purchase be completed using a debit card? Also, we need to know if they need to have a credit card authorization form submitted. For payment disposition, if you need the PO by a certain date, indicate to the business office by filling in this block. Also, attach enough supporting documents to clearly explain why the purchase is required. For example, attach a local activity form and a field trip form. The business office can use these forms to cross-reference your itinerary to the requisitions that are submitted. And then, if we're going to pay them by a check, make sure you supply the correct mailing address.
Another important factor of your requisition request is the payment source. Here you have three options: a debit card, a check, or a purchase order. Should you decide to use a check as your payment source, please indicate whether the payment should be mailed out to the vendor or if the vendor will be responsible for picking up their own payment. If a purchase order was provided to the vendor prior to having a payment sent out to them, we will need confirmation that all services and products were received by your department. Please also keep in mind that the vendor may be required to supply us with a W-9 form. Also keep in mind that the business office will not automatically place your order without prior notice or request. If you do request to have your order placed by our office, please provide us with copies of the shopping cart listing the item that you're requesting, as well as any item numbers and any additional information for any technical parts that may be ordered at that time. The next important information that is required is going to be the justification of your requisition request. Now, the justification should provide us and auditors with information as to why you're submitting your requisition. It is important that an auditor can read the justification box and immediately understand why that requisition was generated or why you're making that request. And it also does have to answer the question as to how does this impact student achievement. So please keep that information in mind when you do submit your requisition. Please also include any pertinent dates and attach any supporting documents that may help further indicate the importance of your requisition.
When your purchase order has been generated and you placed your order, make sure that you attach debit card receipts to your copy of the purchase order. Please get into the habit of putting your name and purchase order number on your receipts. Attach all relevant documents, for example, email confirmations. If you receive a 4-page email with the order and payment confirmation, we will need all 4 pages. Submit shipping documents to the business office. For intangible items, we will accept your signature and date as confirmation of proof of delivery.
The business office is the greatest, the best ever. I know business offices. When submitting a travel authorization, please plan ahead. Again, this is to give the business office enough time to process your TA and, if required, to process a travel advance check before you have to leave on your travel. And then we also want to make sure that all of your travel requirements are met, such as documenting all costs that are required to get you to your destination, to complete the purpose of your travel, and to get you back to the school. These costs might include luggage fees, Ubers, rentals, or maybe even the computer kiosk usage. Also, the business office must log and track each TA to ensure that they are completed in a timely manner. Please visit the following website, gsa.gov/travel resource. This website provides information regarding current per diem and mileage rates for destinations that you might have to travel to. And since the beginning of the last fiscal year, there is no more per diem without an overnight stay. You might still be eligible for mileage, so please talk to your supervisor. For justification, please supply enough supporting documents to explain why your trip is necessary. And also double check the dates of your travel and the dates that are on your TA. When completing your TA, ensure that all of the required signatures are present. You, the traveler, must sign up at the top of the document. The transportation supervisor or their designee must sign indicating if the school vehicle or POV is to be used and what the mileage rate is going to be for this travel. Your supervisor must sign indicating that they approve. The principal must also sign indicating approval. If you're traveling out of state, you must have a school board signature. Also, ensure that if you're going to Gallup, New Mexico or Laughlin, Nevada, you have an out-of-state school board signature. For your receipts, during your travel, obtain and retain all receipts. Make sure you get a receipt from the hotel. Make sure that you get a receipt for your luggage, for your baggage fees. If you use an Uber, or if you use a taxi, or if you use a bus or a subway system, make sure you retain all of those receipts. You're going to need them when you prepare your travel expense reports.